Today, taking selfies is an everyday thing. We do them every day as if it were a matter of course. Yet sometimes a single shot becomes the last memory before tragedy. From tourists who risked their lives for the perfect frame to adventurers at the edge of the world. These are the stories of people who captured their final moments before death. Sophia Chung, a 32-year-old influencer with more than 35,000 followers on Instagram, became famous for her love of adrenaline and extreme sports. Her page was filled with breathtaking yet risky shots, on sharp sea cliffs or hanging over precipices. On Saturday, 10 July, she went to Hapak Lai Park in Hong Kong, known for its magnificent yet dangerous waterfalls. True to her style, Sophia decided to take one more daring selfie on a steep cliff. But at that moment, luck turned away. Losing her footing, she plummeted more than 5 meters down. Her friends immediately called for help. Rescuers arrived very quickly, but all their efforts were in vain. Sophia was pronounced dead upon arrival at the hospital. Her tragic death is a grim reminder of the price of reckless pleasures for the sake of a photo. Her own words in her profile sound especially bitter. Life should be fun, not stupid. Her story remains a vivid lesson about how important it is to take care of oneself and not to risk needlessly. Before we continue, let us pause at one story that is being discussed online. A photo appeared on the internet where a blogger is paragliding and trying to take a selfie. She supposedly forgot to pull the safety cord, and it turned into a tragedy for her. But here is the problem. We could not confirm whether this is true or not. What do you think? Write your opinion in the comments. The beginning of 2021 was a real fairy tale for 23-year-old Xiao Mei from China. She was one of the most popular influencers on Douyin, the Chinese analog of TikTok, gathering more than 100,000 followers. Her viewers adored daily dance videos and clips from her job because she operated a tower crane. Especially fans loved the clips where Xiao danced right in the crane cabin, making her life spectacular and exciting. On 20 July, towards the end of her work shift, at about 17:40, she decided to start another live stream. Everything began cheerfully. She danced and likes poured in by the hundreds. But at some point, everything went wrong. The phone slipped from her hands. On the stream, viewers heard her scream. The image jerked, showing the crane equipment, and then the signal broke off. Shocked subscribers did not understand what had happened. The news soon spread throughout the country. Xiao Mei had died. It turned out that she tried to catch the falling phone, lost her balance, and fell from a height of more than 43 meters. Her followers were devastated. Many left warm words in her memory. But the most tragic thing is that Xiao left behind 2 small children who will never see their mother again. Meet Gigi Wu, a 36-year-old Taiwanese mountaineer known as the Bikini Climber. She gained popularity with her incredible ascents of the most dangerous peaks of the world and her obligatory bikini selfies on the summit. Her unique style brought her thousands of followers who admired her courage and stunning shots. In December 2019, Gigi set out on a solo trek through Yangmingshan National Park, home to the highest mountains of Taiwan. She conquered a peak of more than 4,000 meters and, as always, changed into a bikini for a photo. But on the way back, she slipped and fell into a deep ravine. Luckily, she had a satellite phone and managed to call for help, but bad weather hindered the rescue operation. Hours of waiting turned into days, and the harsh conditions took their toll. Gigi died of hypothermia before she could be saved. Minaki Mori and Vishnu Vijayan are an Indian couple who lived in the United States and shared a passion for travel. Their love for exploring the most beautiful corners of the planet became the meaning of life. They started a blog and an Instagram called Holidays and Happy Ever Afters, sharing stunning photos and stories of their trips. Their account quickly gained thousands of fans, and success allowed them to travel even more. On 30th October 2018, they were in Yosemite National Park in California on the famous Taft Point Overlook. The elevation there exceeds 240 meters above sea level, and the views are simply magical. Enane enabwa harasin kerni, stitu defin de dedboro ilemetmel, katabora stays no a for a selfie, but that photograph became their last. Trying to get the perfect shot, they lost their balance and fell from the cliff. Both died. Especially tragic is that not long before that Minaki warned readers about risks. "Is our life worth one photograph?" she asked. Alas, she herself was no longer destined to answer that question. On May 15th, a group of 20 tourists set out on a boat tour on a reservoir in central Java, Indonesia. The day was sunny. Everyone was happy, taking photos for memory. It seemed nothing foreshadowed trouble. At some moment, the whole company decided to take a group selfie. All 20 people crowded to the starboard side to get into the frame. This sudden list was fatal. The boat capsized. In the end, 7 drowned and 13 miraculously survived. This tragedy is a bitter reminder that even the most harmless photograph can turn into a nightmare if safety is forgotten. On 3 January 2021, Nirupama Prajapati, a young woman from India, went out for a picnic with friends in the picturesque Sundargarh area. After spending several hours in nature, she approached a waterfall to refresh herself and enjoy the view. Inspired by the beauty around her, Nirupama decided to take a selfie for memory. But behind her, someone stumbled and accidentally pushed her. The girl could not keep her balance and fell into the rushing waters. A day that began calmly and joyfully turned into tragedy. Rescuers searched for her body for 22 hours and found it in a rocky gorge 400 meters downstream. Her death is yet another sad lesson about the fragility of life and the danger of chasing the ideal frame. Tony Kelly was a 20-year-old traveler and influencer from New Zealand who literally lived the dream, to see the whole world and share those moments with her followers. A cheerful, lively girl, she filled her Instagram with shots from the most famous spots on the planet, from the Electric Picnic Music Festival in Ireland to California, Big Ben, and Trafalgar Square. But in November 2017, during a trip to London, Tony decided to take a selfie from the window of her hotel room on the 2nd floor. She wanted the perfect frame with the city background and leaned out over the edge. Unfortunately, she lost her balance and fell. Despite being rushed to the hospital, her injuries were too severe. She died from a traumatic brain injury. Her death was sudden and devastating for family and friends. Yet even in this tragedy, there was a ray of light. Tony's parents chose to give others a chance at life by donating her organs. However much we chase beautiful shots, safety must be more important than any photograph. Bastien Palmier, a 33-year-old Frenchman, radiated a passion for adventure. In November 2019, he went to Thailand with a clear goal: to replicate the very perfect photos he had seen from his favorite bloggers. He shot temple complexes, ruins, beaches, one selfie after another, each more beautiful and daring. His path led him to the famous Namuang waterfalls on Koh Samui, a place many call one of the most Instagram-able in Thailand. There were warning signs and even barriers urging people to stay away from the dangerous edge. But Bastien ignored all precautions. He climbed over the barrier to take the most spectacular photo. He posed on the very edge but slipped and fell. His body was found below in a natural pool, lifeless and mangled. The fall was from a height of more than 70 meters. The place was already infamous. Just a few months earlier, a Spanish tourist, David Rome, had died there, attempting exactly the same selfie. Such stories should be a cold shower for everyone ready to risk life for likes. Perhaps the deaths of Bastian and other victims will convince authorities to tighten safety measures. But the main thing is that each of us must remember, no photograph is worth a human life. In July 2019, friends from England, 20-year-old Daniel Mee and 25-year-old Jaden Dolman, went to Spain dreaming of a sunny Mediterranean vacation. They chose the resort town of Punta Prima in Alicante, golden beaches, crystal clear sea, romantic starry walks. One evening, walking along the coast, they found a stunning spot, a raised path with a mesmerizing view of the ocean. They decided, the perfect place for a selfie. But for a better angle, they climbed over the barrier to be even closer to the edge. That mistake cost them their lives. Both lost their balance and fell more than 12 meters down. Daniel died on the spot, and Jaden died in the hospital the next day. This tragedy left loved ones in tears and grief, a reminder that chasing a beautiful shot can cost far more than a frame. It can take an entire life. At first glance, this picture looks almost amusing. A smiling man is holding a box as if ready for a picnic. But in physicist Harold Agnew's hands, it is not a lunch basket. It is the plutonium core for the Fat Man bomb, the very one dropped on Nagasaki in 1945. This tiny yet deadly cargo doomed more than 880,000 people. The photograph was taken on Tinian Island, an essential base of Operation Alberta, which was responsible for assembling and delivering the atomic bomb. The creepiest part of this shot is its ordinariness. Without context, one might think it is some military cosplay or just a drill, but in fact, it is preparation for an unprecedented catastrophe. Agnew not only helped create the bomb, he was in the sky during its drop, aboard the observation plane, the Great Artiste, behind the infamous Enola Gay. Through his lens, the world saw horrifying consequences. Cities erased, fire, destruction, death. And now that smile in the photo is perceived very differently, as a heavy, almost unbearable reminder of what humanity is capable of. Sometimes, an unsuccessful selfie ends up just a bad shot due to poor light. But not in this story. Essa Ricker, Kelsey Webster, and her younger sister Savannah were walking on an autumn day in Spanish Fork Canyon, Utah, in October 2011. Everything was calm until they heard a distant roar. It turned out to be a train. Instead of stepping away, the girls decided to take a selfie with the approaching locomotive in the background. Savannah even managed to upload the photo to Facebook, her last post. They were so absorbed in the process and the noise of the first train that they did not notice the second one coming from the opposite direction. The engineer of the second train blew the horn for 12 agonizing seconds, but a train stopping distance is too long. Speed, 39 miles an hour. It simply could not stop in time. After the tragedy, that very photo was found. Chilling. In it, you can see the headlights of the second train in the corner of the frame. This catastrophe killed not only the 3 girls, but also left psychological trauma for the locomotive crew. Setting off on a big journey is the dream of many. That is exactly what Dutch students Chris Kremers and Lisanne Froon wanted to achieve when, at the beginning of 2014, they arrived in Panama. Plans included trekking, exploring local beauty, and even volunteering to teach children in a village. Everything began cloudlessly. There they are, smiling in a photo taken on the day of the hike, 1 April. right after leaving their host family's house in Bouquet. With them was the family dog, but that very evening, the dog returned alone. The girls did not come home. When they missed a scheduled tour the next day, panic began. A large-scale search was organized. Forests were combed for weeks, without result. Only after 10 weeks did a local woman find their backpack on a riverbank. Inside were personal belongings, phones, and Lisanne's camera. What investigators saw shocked everyone. On the phones were 77 attempts at emergency calls. The jungle was too remote. Only one connection lasted a couple of seconds. By 11 April, both phones were already discharged. The camera told a grim story. At first, cheerful frames, but then the girls' expressions became ever more anxious. A week after the disappearance, a series of night shots began. The forest, strange twig signs, what looks like the back of Chris's head. After that, searchers combed the area again and found their remains. Chris's clothes were neatly folded by the river. Bones were scattered. Surprisingly, Chris's bones were oddly bleached, whereas Lisanne's showed normal signs of decomposition. Mysteries abounded. What happened to them? An accidental death in the forest? Or did someone force them off the path? Why were those strange night photos taken? And who deleted shot number 5009, which was missing in the sequence? Even a local guide fell under suspicion, but no evidence was found. Thus, this story remains a frightening mystery of the Panamanian jungle. In 2016, a Reddit user with the nickname Sliced Up Beef posted on the r/Creepy forum a photo that gave many people goosebumps. She said that she and a friend went hiking to Dundas Peak in Hamilton, Ontario. The idea was simple: to replicate a snapshot another friend had taken a few days earlier on a picturesque cliff with a breathtaking view. They reached the spot, took several shots, and went home, giving it no thought. But about a month later, the friend wrote to her in alarm. Examining the pictures, she noticed something strange below the cliff. In a place where it was impossible to stand, there was a tall, thin figure standing absolutely straight. It seemed to blend with the rocky background, yet unnaturally stood out with its light chest and dark head and legs. Even creepier, the face appeared to be missing. Some commenters on Reddit dismissed it as a play of light and shadow, just a coincidence of lines and colors. Others were convinced it was something more. Some suggested maybe it was another tourist, but who would stand so straight and calmly on an almost vertical slope? There were those who believed it was not a human at all. Dundas Peak is known for its dangerous trails and tragic accidents. Perhaps it was the spirit of someone who died? February 2015. 17-year-old Dalan Pua told his family he was going to hike the famous trail on Oahu, Hawaii. He thought it an excellent adventure. At the time, he was staying with his grandmother, who tried to dissuade him, knowing the dangers of the route. But the boy was determined. The goal: Haiku Stairs, better known as the Stairway to Heaven. It is 4,000 steep steps snaking along the Kulau mountain ridge. In some places, the path is only 45 centimeters wide, and below is a 600-meter drop. And yes, it has been officially closed to visitors since 1987. But that did not stop Dalan. Everything went fine. He even sent his relatives several photos from the route. But around 11 in the morning, the messages stopped. When he did not return, the family filed a missing person report. A massive search operation began. Firefighters, volunteers, drones, even the United States Navy combed the mountains. But after 5 days, 3 March, the search was halted, without result. Then the family looked more closely at one of the last photos. In the bushes in the background, they noticed a figure, a person, as if crouching in ambush. Was it just another hiker? Or was someone following him? Maybe Dalen took the photo on purpose to leave a clue. Everything is complicated by testimonies of other hikers. On 2 March, they heard shouts of, "Help!" and "I am here down below." They called for help, but no one was found. The official version is that the boy slipped and fell in a remote spot, but the body was never found. In this photograph, David Johnston seems absolutely carefree, sitting relaxed with a notebook in his hand, smiling amid sunny weather. But in just 13 hours, he would be gone. David was born in Illinois and was in love with geology. He graduated with honors in 1971, later earned his PhD in Washington, and chose the study of volcanoes as his calling. In 1978, he joined the United States Geological Survey team, monitoring volcanic activity. Sometimes he even went right into active craters for his measurements. 18. May 1980 became his last day. That morning, he was on duty at the Coldwater 2 observation post, 8.5 kilometers from Mount St. Helens. The day before, he had relieved his assistant, Harry Glicken. That day, the photograph was taken, serene and ordinary. And in the morning at 8:32, St. Helens exploded. His last words over the radio were, "Vancouver, Vancouver, this is it," spoken with excitement, not fear. Hot gases and magma surged at 480 kilometers per hour. In 6 minutes, an area of 600 square kilometers turned into a scorched wasteland. Johnston's body was never found. A total of 57 people died that day, but thanks to his work and warnings, the toll could have been far worse. Today, the observation point Coldwater 2 has been renamed Johnston's Ridge, honoring his courage and dedication. Have you ever taken a photo and only years later noticed something strange in it? Joe Martinez from Colorado experienced exactly that. In 1999, Joe and his wife, Patty, were at a celebration of the 50th wedding anniversary of relatives. They posed for a photo, smiling, an ordinary, pleasant family snapshot. They went home, put the album on a shelf, and forgot about it for years. But in 2007, leafing through old photos, Joe suddenly noticed something creepy. Right behind his left shoulder, a face, strange, contorted, dog-like. And there was no dog then, neither at the party nor nearby. Joe was convinced it was a demon. Perhaps it sounds insane, but everything makes sense if you know the context. At the time of the shot, he was struggling with a serious addiction that was destroying his life. Seeing that creature in the photo, he realized, here it is, his evil, his dark side that is killing him. It became a push. Joe quit his destructive habit and never returned to it. Now he carries that photograph with him as a talisman and a reminder not to let the demon take over again. Photographer John Davenport studied the shot and found no signs of forgery. Perhaps it is just pareidolia, the tendency to see faces where there are none. But for Joe, it was not just a glitch. It was the symbol that helped him change his life. In 2014, a thread appeared on Reddit. Hikers, what is the creepiest experience you have had on a hike? User GellaU8 replied with a photo that makes the blood run cold. At first glance, an ordinary picture at the foot of a 45-meter waterfall in Santa Barbara, California. But on closer look, a woman appears in the frame with her face distorted by pain. The story behind this shot is scarier than any horror. The day before, 22-year-old Sailor Gilliams went hiking with her friend Vega. But on the way back, they got lost. In the dark, Sailor jumped from a rock and broke her leg. Vega tried to carry her but slipped, and himself broke an elbow and smashed her ankle. In despair, he left her to find help, but he never returned. Sailor was left alone in the forest for the night, screaming until she weakened. The next day, a group of hikers passed by, including Gela U8. They noticed a flash of bright red hair in the bushes. On closer inspection, they found her half alive, delirious. They called rescuers, who evacuated her by helicopter. Vega had fallen even deeper along the trail and died. When Gela U8 later reviewed the photos, he noticed Sailor not in one but in two shots, with an expression of horror and pain. This image reminds us that behind any adventure tragedy may lurk, and sometimes one small detail, like red hair in the bushes, can save a life. Do you ever want to drop everything and disappear from the bustle? Christopher McCandless did exactly that. After graduating from Emory University in 1990, he renounced a wealthy life, donated $24,000 to charity, and set out. But it was not just a trip. It was a rejection of civilization. He wanted to live without money, without cars, without comforts. He even took the name Alexander Supertramp. At first he had a car, but a flood forced him to abandon it. Then he walked, hitchhiked, and paddled a canoe. By April 1992, he reached Fairbanks, Alaska, and from there the dangerous Wild Stampede Trail. He carried only 4.5 kilograms of rice, a map, books, and a rifle of caliber .22. Not even enough for a meeting with a bear. He found an abandoned bus and made it his home. He ate berries and small game. He even shot a moose, but did not know how to preserve the meat. It quickly rotted. After 94 days alone, he was emaciated. Probably he was poisoned by seeds of wild potato, which he thought were edible. His diary grew ever gloomier. The last entry on day 107. Beautiful blueberries. 6 days later, hunters found his body. He weighed only 30 kilograms. In his last photo, he smiles with a sign, "I had a happy life. Farewell, and may God bless you." But that smile hid exhaustion and death. Christopher's story was told in the book and the film Into the Wild. It is a story about a dream to escape society and about how cruel wild nature can be. Whether his choice inspires or seems reckless is up to each person to decide. But the result is the same: death alone in a cold bus in the middle of the forest. These selfies, taken a moment before death, are not just photos. They are a reminder that in the pursuit of a shot, one can lose what is most precious. We all want to preserve memories, but sometimes the price is too high. Thank you very much for watching all the way to the very end. On the Top Facts channel, you will find a lot of interesting material. It has already appeared on your screen.